next 10 minutes or so, as the music plays, we invite you to just relax. Close your eyes, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignyakara Dhura Hamare Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignyakara Dhura Hamare Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam 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 Ganapataye Namo Namaha Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vajrajandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha 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 Gam Ganapataye Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignyakara Dhura Hamare Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignyakara Dhura Hamare Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Namo Namaha. Suklam Bharadharam Vishnu Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavignopashantaye Sarvavignopashantam Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo Namaha Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo Namaha Ganapataye Namo
Namaste. Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. Satsang is a Sanskrit word that means community of truth. Wherever two or more people gather together sharing the journey of spiritual awakening and the transformation of consciousness, we have a Satsang. And we strengthen one another exponentially. It's so important to join together with others who are awakening, whose hearts are flowering. And so that's why we're here tonight. Glad you're with us. We're at a critical time in human history where it is essential that we shift from a collective culture of competition, conflict, and violence to a whole new world rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. And that can only happen when the human heart flowers, not just one or two of us, not just a few of us, but when the entire collective consciousness of humanity shifts from fear to love. So that's what we're about. We're helping to assist the shift by facilitating awakening as quickly as we can in as many people as we can, one person at a time. To assist this goal, we share something called the Flowering Heart Blessing. Hridaya, Vikasa, Diksha, if you speak Sanskrit. But it just means flowering heart blessing, and it's a gift, a transmission from the divine source that is pure love, pure light, pure grace, pure awakened divine consciousness. And when we receive this blessing, it catalyzes awakening in us. If that process is already underway, it helps to melt the blocks and helps to grease the works and facilitate the journey, because awakening is not a destination. It's an unending journey of expansion. So please join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing tonight. The Divine showed us that when you've received just once this blessing, and you're soaking in it right now, just invite the Divine to pour it through you to everyone who joins us tonight for the satsang, and everyone who at any time in the future views the video or listens to the audio of this satsang. They will be flooded with the same grace, because the Flowering Heart Blessing is a transmission of spirit, and spirit transcends distance in space and time. So whenever you're watching this recording, it's here and now, isn't it? Just ask yourself, is it still now? It's always now. And so blessings like this are very special. They're quite eternal. They don't lose strength over time. So just invite the Divine to pour it through you. Please also give us a like or a love. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you can give us a thumbs up or a heart or what other emoji speaks to your feelings at this time. We go in at the end, and in the days from one Monday to the next especially, and I see who's dropped in and watched, and we send you special hugs and blessings. So please do that, starting with those of us that are together here live. If you're watching on Vimeo, you can just enter your name in the chat and say, "Hi, it's me," or "Namaste," or something, and we'll also find you there and send you blessings. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, you're going to have to send us an email, because we don't monitor a live chat on those videos. But we are responsive. I am Michael at floweringheart.org. And this is Suzanne with a Z.
Though I don't check mine as much as he does.
Which is, thanks, which is her way of saying email him, not me. But no, I enjoy the emails, and if you have questions that don't get answered or something specific that you'd like help with, feel free to email me anytime, Michael at floweringheart.org. We open these Monday night webcasts to questions and answers on the spiritual journey. We do not answer political questions, economic questions. We don't dive into physics much unless it's quantum physics. But anyway, anything that has to do with the spiritual journey, especially your journey, something that you might be puzzling over, you'd like to have more light, more inspiration, more understanding. Could be about your meditation or prayer practice, shifts that are going on in your consciousness, obstacles you're facing. We all encounter similar blessings and blocks along the way over the years as our journeys unfold. So whatever question you have will help everyone who gathers with us. And there's so many, many more people that watch these after the actual time we're doing it. This is a Monday night. And people have all kinds of different schedules. They're in different time zones, different countries, different continents. And so one of the wonderful things about this technology is that folks are free to join us anytime during the week. So let's see. While you're thinking about what kind of question you might ask, and please do look inside and just ask yourself, is there something I might ask that would help me gain more clarity and understanding and also stimulate the conversation during the satsang. While you consider that and listen to that still small voice inside of you, I'm going to share an article and a list of quotes, as I do each week, from inspiringquotes.com, where a group of authors writes brief, timely articles and share quotes from illuminated characters throughout history. Tonight, the subject is 15 quotes to encourage self-reflection. The author tonight is Christina Wright. Christina is a coffee-fueled writer living happily ever after with her family in the suburbs of Richmond, Virginia. And thank you for this, Christina. Here's what she has to say about the importance of self-reflection. The process of self-reflection can help us discover why we feel, think, and act the way we do. By better understanding who we are and what we want, we can identify our values, develop a clear sense of purpose, and make the necessary changes to fulfill that purpose, leading to a greater sense of well-being. Developing the ability to be self-reflective requires uninterrupted and sustained contemplation. Through meditative, mindful, and creative activities, we could learn to quiet our mind and turn our focus inward. Regular periods of introspection can guide us in strengthening our sense of identity and help us feel more in control of our lives. These insightful quotes demonstrate the importance of self-reflection in leading a happier, more enriching life. So here we go. It is always our own self that we find at the end of the journey. The sooner we face that self, the better. Ella Mylart, travel writer. There's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. Aldous Huxley, author. If these years have taught me anything, it is this: you can never run away. Not ever. The only way out is in. Junot Diaz, writer. Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. Margaret Wheatley, writer. The unexamined life is not worth living for human beings. Socrates. In the middle of the night, things well up from the past that are not always cause for rejoicing. The unsolved, the painful encounters, the mistakes, the reasons for shame or woe, but all, good or bad, give me food for thought, food to grow on. May Sarton, poet and novelist. Self-correction begins with self-knowledge. Balthazar Gracian, writer. One of the sure signs of maturity is the ability to rise to the point of self-criticism. Martin Luther King Jr. Find out who you are and do it on purpose. Dolly Parton. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung, psychoanalyst. Self-reflection is a much kinder teacher than regret is. Andrina Sawyer, business consultant. I had the urge to examine my life in another culture and move beyond what I knew. Frances Mays, writer. We cannot change what we are unaware of. And once we are aware, we cannot help but change. Sheryl Sandberg, technology executive and writer. Education begins the gentleman, but reading, good company, and reflection must finish him. John Locke, philosopher. Your treasure, your perfection is within you already. But to claim it, you must leave the busy commotion of the mind and abandon the desires of the ego and enter into the silence of the heart. Elizabeth Gilbert. When I first saw the title, Self-Reflection, I went, blah. Then when I read some of these quotes, I thought, this is just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what Martin Luther King Jr. said, that a sure sign of maturity is when we rise to the point of self-criticism, self-questioning. I've said through the years that in order to really grow spiritually, we have to question if our perception of reality is correct. And I kept hearing this voice behind me whispering, why do you assume that is true? Every time I had a conclusion about reality, about the situation, about what I thought was going on, why do you assume that's true? And I'd have to, if I was honest, go, I'm not sure why I think that's true. So to question the accuracy of your own perception, not just of reality, but of yourself, is a huge sign of maturity.
I like the one that said, self-reflection is a kinder teacher than regret.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, sure. Ekaterina, and I will send you those links for those recordings you want. I've just been slammed. I'll get to it. And thank you for your support. But Ekaterina asks, can you talk about the Gnostics and their knowledge? I've been reading St. Thomas' Gospel. I think it's kind of funny to begin with that we would ask a question. Can you talk about the Gnostics and their knowledge? Because gnosis means knowledge. So yeah, what is gnosis and what's that all about? And what's this Gospel of Thomas? And there's a lot of good information and a lot of misinformation. Well, I remember when I was in Bible school preparing for Protestant ministry, which came before the priesthood for me. There was sort of just a two-dimensional judgment of Gnosticism, that the Gnostics believed that the physical creation is evil and created by an evil demiurge, some spiritual being, and that we must escape from this evil physical creation and go to pure spirit, which is clearly not a Christian teaching. So there was a lot of There were a few groups, very few, that actually held that idea. And the leaders, the teachers, spiritual teachers of the early church, refuted them. Even St. Paul refuted the so-called Gnostics, he writes, and says that their teaching, their understanding is wrong. I mean, the creation is beautiful, and it's the creation of the divine. It's pure and it is holy, and God is everywhere in it all. So, that said, the idea that the physical creation could be evil is ridiculous. As it turns out, there were in the early church not just one church that had a solid doctrine that everybody agreed on. There were hundreds and hundreds of Christian communities. And none of them had a Bible because the Bible hadn't been created yet. They had the Hebrew scriptures, but there was no New Testament. What they had were some letters circulating, often called epistles or gospels. And different communities had different pieces of this literature that came from the apostles and prophets and Christ himself. And so it took centuries to put together what the bishops of the early church decided would be the canon of Holy Scripture, those books that are included in the Christian New Testament today. And there were dozens and dozens and dozens of epistles and gospels that the early bishops, in the wisdom they thought they had, they excluded from the New Testament. Now, some of that's sad. They also excluded, they called 7 of the books of the Old Testament apocryphal or deuterocanonical, not completely inspired like the rest of the Bible. And you can get copies of the Apocrypha, and that's included, those 7 books, in the Greek Orthodox or the Eastern Orthodox versions of the Bible, and also in the Catholic Bible. But in most Protestant Bibles, the 7 books of the Apocrypha are missing. Although when the King James Version was originally translated, the Apocrypha was translated and included with it. It isn't in today's published, but you can buy it on the side. You can buy St. James' translation of the Apocrypha. And I love the language of the King James. Say what you will, it may not be the most accurate translation of every word, but it carries the majesty and sense of wonder. It's very beautiful. Okay. So back to the Gnostics. St. Paul criticized them. At the same time, Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, uses the word gnosis over and over and over and over again in a positive sense, much more than he ever refers to the Gnostics as a negative thing. And what the word gnosis means is to know something by the direct experience of it. So Paul said, and the best Gnostics were saying, what saves you isn't belonging to the right church. It isn't going through the right rituals, done just the right way at the right altar. That what truly transforms and liberates a soul is the direct knowledge of God, and that's all that matters. Not what other people say, not what you think, not so much what you read, but what you directly experience will transform you forever. And Paul liked another word even more than gnosis. He liked the word epignosis, which means full, perfect, direct knowledge by becoming one with the object known. So gnosis is to know God directly. Epignosis is to know God by merging with God and becoming one with God. A kind of knowledge you can only have when you merge with someone and you're experiencing them from the inside. And Paul says we are gifted, we are called, we are graced by God to receive and experience and grow in full epignosis, the direct unitive knowledge that comes through oneness with God. So all this talk about Gnosticism, there's a lot of misunderstanding. One of the texts that was not included in the New Testament was the Gospel of Thomas. And, and the Gospel of Thomas has been getting a lot of attention in recent years because it is so inspiring and so inspired. What I'm about to tell you may be one of the reasons that the bishops didn't think it should be included. Thomas is the disciple called the doubting one, doubting Thomas, because the other apostles saw Jesus after he rose, but Thomas wasn't there. Peter and James and John, they're telling Thomas, we've seen the Lord, he's risen. And he says, I'm not going to believe this just because Peter tells me, or John tells me, or James tells me. I need to experience the resurrected Lord directly for myself. Now, he's criticized for that, but how beautiful is that? I'm not going to take somebody else's word for my faith. I'm going to experience directly in my heart the truth. So Jesus came and appeared to him and said, come on, stick your fingers in the holes in my hands and my feet and thrust your hand in the hole in my side, and you'll see it's me, and I'm alive. And Thomas was utterly changed. And he took off to India, a place where people were not predisposed to accept the gospel of Christ. They had their own ancient tradition. And the only way to get the attention of the Hindu people was spectacular miracles like the things Jesus did. So for 20 years, Thomas raised the dead, opened the eyes of the blind, healed cripples, did all of the miracles that Christ did. And there are records. I've spent a lot of time in Chennai over the years, and they've kept records of how many people he raised from the dead, how many cripples he healed, how many blind eyes he opened. And in the end, though he made it for 20 years in a cave there outside of Chennai, the Brahmins were so upset and jealous of this guy that they had him executed when he was deep in contemplative union with God one night in his cave, which is sad. But back to this Thomas guy. I mean, he really had tremendous power working through him, like we saw work through Christ himself or through the major prophets of the Old Testament. And his name means, Thomas in Hebrew means twin. Jesus, who spoke Aramaic with his disciples, nicknamed Thomas Didymus. And if you pick up a Christian New Testament and you read about the apostles, you'll read about Thomas named Didymus. I went, okay, so Thomas was a twin. What happened to his twin brother or sister? Or, okay, Jesus called him twin. That must have been special. There must have been some reason, because everything Jesus did had a reason and a meaning. But it's not explained in the New Testament. If you read the Gospel of Thomas, there is a moment where Jesus confronts Thomas and says, Thomas, I am no longer your master. You have discovered and drunk from the same fountain of living water springing up inside of you that I have drunk from within myself. And now you are my twin. So he was given the name twin because he became so Christ-like. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay, you see D. You want to add something?
No.
Oh, okay. So anyway, that's there's so much more I could say about Thomas. He is a special saint. I think they could have, maybe should have included his gospel in the New Testament, but you can get a copy and read it and meditate on it. And even just that thing of, I'm no longer your master, you're now my twin, would be enough for the bishops of the day to say that is not inspired scripture and is not going to get in the Bible. So, there are many Gnostic groups today who emphasize transformation through the direct experience of union with God, and do not believe that salvation lies in reciting the correct form of the Nicene or Apostles' Creed, of being baptized a certain way, certain precise rituals. They believe it's a mystical transformation that happens when we come in direct contact with God. So more and more people have become interested in the Gnostic teachings and scriptures, and they're out there. Bunches of them, if you look for them. Okay. Ekaterina continues, and why St. Peter said in that gospel that Mary Magdalene shouldn't be with them because women weren't welcome. and Jesus answered, then I'll make her a man. I read that is because we are all one at last without gender. And because the masculine was more of action and feminine was passive and receptive. Well, the spiritual principles, the masculine, the yang energy is more active, and the yin feminine spirit and energy is receptive. Okay, sure. But the writings of Thomas have mysteries. They're riddles, and you have to go beyond your mind and meditate on them like a Zen koan sometime. But what that shows through Peter is that the brothers, who were the 12, were all men. And of course, Judas fell, so there are these 11 guys. They were Jesus' primary disciples. And they didn't trust the women so much. There was male chauvinism going on back in those days.
Back in those days?
Yeah, well, we know what's going on now. But Mary Magdalene was beloved of Christ and very close to Jesus. There are so many stories we could tell about her. But the disciples, they were kind of jealous of Jesus' partiality and the special attention that he gave Mary. Mary Magdalene was the first one that saw Jesus risen from the dead. And that's a wonderful story, but she sees him and she grabs his feet and he says, "Don't hold on to me, I haven't ascended yet, but go and tell my brothers what you've seen." So Mary Magdalene and some of the other sisters that were privy to this encounter with Christ right after his resurrection went back to Peter, James, John, and the other 11 apostles and said they had seen the Lord, and they did not believe her. So when Jesus appears to the 11 shortly after, the first thing Jesus does, and it's right there in the New Testament, he rebukes them for not believing the sisters. So actually the first ones who preached the gospel of the resurrection of Christ were the women. And Mary Magdalene was a very saintly and powerful vessel of Christ in the early church. But they said, no, she shouldn't be with us, she shouldn't be among the apostles because she's a woman. That's like the church today saying, oh, a woman shouldn't be a priest at the altar because she's not a man. And Jesus was a man, so if you're going to be a priest, you got to be a man. Well, when I first experienced the first female priest at the altar, I was blown away. I knew that it was what I'd been missing. I grew up in a sacramental church, all male priests, and when this woman came out and lifted up her hands and began to celebrate the Eucharist, I was just blown away. This is what we've been missing. And as a bishop, one of the controversial things I did was champion the cause of women's ordination, and I ordained a number of women to the priesthood with authentic apostolic succession. So this was sort of the same deal going on among the early disciples who happened to be Jews, Jewish followers of Jesus who was a fervent Jew himself. And they were trying to say that women weren't suited to be in certain roles. Paul strongly contests that, and people talk about Paul as being sort of always suppressing women and putting them in their place, but I don't have time to take you through it. But Paul names Priscilla the wife of Aquila. They are a husband and wife pastoral priestly team. And he mentions her name first generally, Priscilla, Priscilla, Priscilla. She was an elder or a priest. And then he mentions Junia, who was a relative of his, who was an apostle of renown and a woman. Paul celebrates female deacons, female priests, and female apostles, who later became called bishops. And so there's just a lot of misinformation about this. And I'm with you. Thanks for asking those questions. You want to add anything to?
No.
You lit my fire on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ekaterina. So are there any other questions? We still have a little time. If you had something else, or
Actually, this is right on time.
it's always right on time. It's always here and now. Well, okay then. You could close your eyes if they're still open and invoke the presence. The divine presence in all of its fullness dwells within you. The entire universe is within you. I always like to remember Rumi, the great Sufi mystic, who said, "You're not a drop of the ocean of God, you are the entire ocean in a drop." All of God is within you, at the center of your being and throughout every level of your being, omnipresent, present everywhere. And this divine presence is all-powerful, all-knowing. It knows everything you've ever done, everything you ever will do, the divine already knows, and loves you regardless, unconditionally. We often feel distance from the light of the divine. That's an illusion created by the mind, that distance, a veil of separation that causes all of our suffering. The divine would like to dissolve that veil for you and draw you into its embrace through the gravitational pull of divine love. Just let go and let God. If you just yield yourself to the divine, it will draw you spontaneously and effortlessly into itself and dissolve all of the illusions of separation and distance and flood your spirit with true enlightenment. Flood your soul with inspired thinking, ideas, feelings, and thoughts and plans. Flood your body with divine life, healing your diseases, filling your body with light from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. Receive, receive, receive the light and the life and the transforming grace of the presence as it is pouring out within you, pouring out upon you, pouring out to you from every direction. Just drink it in, breathe it in, keep receiving more and more and more. It will flood your life. It will heal and set right your relationships. It will shine through your life out into the world, and people who come in contact with you will be inspired and catalyzed in their own process of awakening. So receive. Drink it in. The light dissolves and banishes the shadows. The anointing of the Spirit breaks the yoke of oppression. More light. Use your authority to banish the darkness and to invoke the light. And stay at it. Don't stop. Now just rest and receive. Right now, you need not struggle. Just drink in the presence. Visualize us sitting in a circle together, a blessing circle, and everyone lift up your hands with your palms open and your eyes closed, and let us invite the divine presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through all of us, through each of us to the others in the circle. As it flows through you, it transforms you and frees you and heals you. Let's put Michael in the center of the circle. And let us take an intention together for divine intervention, to dispel all of the darkness. Every dark force and spirit scattered by the light of truth and love. If your eye is single, your body is filled with light. Keep drinking it in. Now let us pray for the peace of the world. This planet covered with 8.2 billion roughly human beings, let us ask the divine to pour through our prayers and intentions and our blessings the light that melts away fear and anger and hatred and floods the hearts of humanity with unconditional love and peace. May the living waters of divine love quench the fires of war and flood the world with peace. Now relax your hands in your lap. And when you're ready, open your eyes, begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. As we begin the light meditation, we are flooded with oceans of light and love and grace for you. It pours through every fiber of our being to you, especially through our eyes, the windows of the soul. Just keep making direct eye contact and don't look away with at least one of our eyes. And the light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, flooding your heart with light and the brilliant flames of divine love. Just relax and receive. You could close your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace settles within you. Now keep on meditating as long as it feels good to you, or lie down nearby in Shavasana. That means to lie on your back, some comfortable place, preferably on the ground, something soft and comfortable. Lie on your back with your arms loosely at your sides, with your palms open and turned upward. And close your eyes and just let yourself dissolve with gratitude in the presence. It's the easiest yoga pose of all, Shavasana. And it really does help bring things together after any spiritual practice. We love you guys a bunch.
Much love, light, and blessings.
And we will continue to pray for you and send blessings after we say goodbye tonight. But know, until we meet again, the divine in us beholds the divine in you. And we bow to you.
Namaste.
Namaste.